Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central with our current and prospective distribution partners to talk about strategies, success stories, which we'll go through here in a moment, and assist each of you. We have a different set of Zooms for prospective clients. Those Zooms are actually held multiple times during the day. So if you need help closing any of your prospects, anyone's welcome to this morning's Zoom, but there's a different a different set of Zooms that's probably a better fit. With that being said, today's topic is actually multifaceted. We're going to talk about first tranche funding, getting clients funding right up front, even before they have a fundable business. We're going to talk about the 4-week funding program. And then one of our distribution partners, Curtis, who was on, but he dropped off, hopefully he'll come back on. I was talking to him yesterday, and he said he needs help. He doesn't know what to do as a distribution partner. So we're going to make sure by the end of today's session that we cover these two topics and then make sure each of you know what to do, because that's our attempt, is to make it simple enough. Of course, there's the affiliate role versus the white label partner, but we'll get to that. What is first tranche funding or financing? It's that initial round of capital that is extended to the client, normally shortly after enrollment, even before they have a fundable business. And this works out really well. We have a consortium of about 40 different lenders. Without any hard inquiries, we're able to get an app and run through to see what each client would qualify for. They can pick the offer or offers that they want. Here's a recent example, a true one. This is Miss Navarro. We'll leave her name out of it just to protect her confidentiality, but she's a real person, wonderful lady. She filled out the app, and we were able to immediately get her offers. Now, in her case, without exaggeration, if my tallying is correct this early Tuesday morning, she received 73 different offers to pick from. Some bigger than others, some smaller than others, different lenders, different interest rates, different repayment terms, but 73 offers. So I love when someone comes to us and says, well, no one gets funding. This isn't real. What an incredibly wrong thing to say. Lenders want to loan money. Don't let people convince you, oh, no, lenders don't want to loan money. That's what they do. They loan money, but they loan money to qualified people. What do you and I do? You and I take imperfect people and help them become stronger, either individually or through their businesses. So what a great example of the real first tranche funding opportunities. Now, different lenders, I told you there's around 40 that participate. One of those lenders offered Miss Navarro almost $250,000. And this is even before we built out the fundable business. So funding is real, success stories are real, but clients choose. Clients choose what funding they want. We don't get a power of attorney to pretend to be them. So first of all, just don't let anyone convince you or suggest, no, none of these banks really loan money. That's not really true. Now, we don't loan money, right? We're technical advisors, but banks and lenders do loan money. And here's an example. So any questions on first tranche funding, first tranche financing? Each person fill out their own app. They'll get their own offers. Most people will get 5 to 7 offers. Some people get more. Miss Navarro got nearly 100 different offers. Okay, so I think we're good there. So we can dispel any criticism of, oh, no one gets funding, this isn't real. That's ignorant to say. It's untrue. And this is, again, just the first tranche. This is before we built out the fundable business. Miss Navarro will be going after $5 million, with an M, $5 million, probably by this time next week. All right, so let's move forward now. We're going to talk, secondly, about the 4-week funding program. That's the website that's shown here in the background. This is the build versus buy. So we've talked a lot recently about shelf corporations. That's where the client buys from you a shelf corporation that's ready to go to funding. And that's fine, nothing's changed there. But we probably needed to give a little bit more of attention to the build. The build is a great option. It's described on 4weekfunding.com. You can see there's a little YouTube video embedded to give them an overview. It's broken down into what we do. I mean, it's incredibly transparent. 4 weeks. What do we do in week 1? What do we do in week 2? What do we do in week 3? What do we do in week 4? So I'm not going to read this whole website to you, but if you've not been on 4weekfunding.com, you may want to make a note to do so. And then afterwards, then we go to funding. So with that being said, let me bring back up my notes that just went away. Here we go. All right, so of course we're on 4weekfunding.com, you know that. So it is designed to be a 28-day process, but let's be transparent with one another. There's not a bank or a lender in the world that says, oh, client's been in the program 28 days, let's go to funding. We need to get them fundable. And what that means, of course, is we're addressing that through the 4 weeks, and there's a synopsis of deliverables here. So yes, it's designed to be a 28-day process. Could it happen quicker? Sure. Could it take longer? Could, but designed to be 28 days. And so you have great detail of what we're doing each step along the way. We do want to help clients get their first tranche of financing or funding very quickly. We just had a discussion about that above, so nothing's changed. But that does happen typically in the first week, even though we've not completed the 4 weeks to have a fundable business. That's consistent with what we just said. The 4-week funding program works well for clients that already have a current business, or we can form a new one for them. And the filing cost with the Secretary of State is covered by the grant. The client doesn't have to pay for that. So we'll work with them. And I think the less you get bogged down with, the better. So you don't really need to consult with the client and say, hey, we need to use your current business, or no, we need to form a new one. Our internal advisors will work with each enrollee and help them make an educated decision. It doesn't matter to us. We can use their current business or form a new one. There is, again, no cost for us to form a new one for them, covered by the grant. It does include $10,000. So every participant is going to, even before we go to funding, is going to receive $10,000. And so that is identified here in week 3. The graphic matches, and then it's shown on number 5 down here in deliverables. So that's a nice perk. You pick the pricing. So again, that's the beauty of you being a white label partner. You can't come back and say, oh, that 4-week funding program's too expensive, or it's not expensive enough. I don't think anyone says. You pick the pricing. That's the beauty of being a white label partner. You pick the pricing. So with that being said, I want to change our agenda to free up time for Curtis. Curtis is on the webinar today. So for Curtis and anyone else, what is it that we need to do differently, better, or what have you? What do you need to know so you can go make money today? Because we have a number of you who are affiliates. Great. You have a landing page, you refer in, our closers will take care of it, you get paid. In contrast, if you're a white label partner, then you would have received an email from us, the onboarding email. If you don't have it, let Madison know. She can resend it to you. And it had 2 editable Word documents on it. One for the build, one for the buy. So in other words, one editable agreement for the 4-week funding, which we're looking at here. One editable agreement for the shelf corp. If you have a client for one of those 2 programs, what would you do? You would edit whichever agreement is relevant. You'd remove our information. You'd put your information on it. You tweak the pricing as you want to tweak the pricing. You get the client to sign it, right? That's what you do. If you're a white label partner, you close deals. If you're an affiliate, you don't close deals. We have closers that will close the deals. All right, so Curtis is starting to get us some questions, so that's good. And so anyone that has questions or lack of clarity, this is where we want to address it, because what we can't keep doing is spending 30 minutes together and then dozens of you calling us right afterwards with questions. We need to try to address them here. There's not enough time in the day. So Curtis, great job. All right, so Curtis wants to talk about the AR, so that's good. So the 10,000 that's provided for free in the 4-week funding, by the way, we provide 100,000 for free in the Shelf Corporation. But regardless of the dollar amount, what we need to do is get those receivables to the client. Now, some of you just you lack basic business knowledge, so it becomes a little more difficult. But what is a receivable? AR. I guess let's go ahead and make sure that we're covering this. So AR means accounts receivables. Money owed to the business. Money owed to the business. So we're transferring AR 10,000, as shown here, number 5, for the build. We transfer 100,000 for the buy. So I guess we'll just go ahead and put that. So we're going to transfer 10K or 100K. Now, if client needs more, they get more. So there's not a cap there. So that is in the form of accounts receivables. And so accounts receivables are real. There's debtors that now owe the client money. It goes onto the client's balance sheet. It can be pledged as collateral, and we can help the client liquidate those receivables, which is, I think, what Curtis is getting into. So let's drill into that. So we can liquidate the AR if desired. So let's talk about the pros and cons of that. So let's pick someone that's on the call. We'll take Pearlie. So let's say Pearlie has 10,000 of receivables. We transfer those over. They're real. They're on her balance sheet. So then we're going to ask Pearlie, hey, Pearlie, do you want to leave that 10,000 on your balance sheet, or do you want to liquidate it? Liquidate means collect, right? Collect the money because there's real debtors. If Pearlie says, yep, let's collect it, then let's go ahead and go through that process. So we'll go through the liquidation process. And again, this is optional. Pearlie could say, no, I don't want to collect it. I just want to leave the AR in the balance sheet. Doesn't make a lot of sense to do that because most of us would rather have cash in our pocket than assets on the balance sheet. But regardless, that's up to the client. So what's the process? So first we ask, do you want us to liquidate it? Yes or no? If yes, then we have an assignment form that must be completed. We're licensed and bonded as a debt collector, so we can collect that money. Because what is AR? It's money owed, right? We said that. So there's real debtors that owe the client. So if the client wants the money from the debtors, then they can complete this assignment form, and that allows us to go collect it for them. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. When we collect it, we do a 50-50 split. That may sound horrible. It's like, well, wait, Pauline was owed $10,000. Now she's only going to get $5,000. That's horrible. No, that's not the case. We're going to add the collection and litigation costs to debtor. So let's pick someone that's a debtor, and no one wants to be the debtor, but we'll just say Corinthian, for example. Corinthian bought a Shelf Corporation from us. She promised to pay the $10,000. She's not paid it yet. Let's say that she skips out on the debt, so she doesn't pay it, which I know she will, but just using this as an example. So then we sell Corinthian's defaulted agreement to Pauline. It's packaged in. So now Corinthian doesn't owe us anymore. Corinthian owes Pauline. There's a clear contract, a clear breach of contract, no question. So in this case, then there's 10,000 owed by debtor, in that example, Corinthian, to client, Pauline. So then what we would do is we would add, as I just wrote above, 10,000 for collection litigation cost to the 10K principal amount. So we would go after 20,000 from Corinthian, not 10,000. Thus, the 50-50 split gets the client, in this case, Pauline, back to her original amount. So, Curtis, is this what you were asking for? Now, you're going deep into the weeds. I don't know that as an affiliate, you certainly shouldn't go this deep. And as a white label partner, I don't know that you have really the training or the need to go into this level of detail. But I'm answering your question. So, did that make sense, Curtis? So typically when we're transferring AR, normally they're in $10,000 increments of $100,000 portfolios. So a portfolio of 100,000 would be 10 debtors owing 10,000 apiece. All right. But again, if Curtis, if your expertise in this is keeping you from enrolling clients in the buy or the build options, I think you've got it way off. I think you're going down way too deep into the weeds. I don't think that that's necessary. That's like saying, well, I work at a car dealership and I can't sell a car to a prospective client because I don't know how frequently the oil needs to be changed. I mean, it's useful information, but it's not critical. All right, so Curtis asked, what's the benefit of having collateral on the balance sheet? Well, when we borrow money, lenders would like to be repaid. That's an obvious statement. I'm not being sarcastic, but that's what lenders want, right? You borrow money from a lender, they want to be repaid. That's the deal. What do they do to protect themselves to ensure or better ensure that they get repaid? Well, they often want collateral. So in other words, it's what's pledged. So if the borrower shouldn't repay the debt, that the lender has something to take in lieu of the payments that weren't made, called collateral. Unlike you, Curtis, a lot of our clients don't have a lot of collateral. Therefore, we can provide collateral, and we provide collateral for free, right? We provide, as you see here, number 5, 10,000 in the 4-week funding program. We provide 100,000, which we said here, in the shelf court. So now we're providing collateral to pledge for the loan. So Curtis's question is maybe a trick question to me, I'm not sure, but what's the benefit of collateral? It's needed for most business loans because it protects the lender in case the borrower should not repay it. But what's really interesting is we take this to a whole nother level. Since we're providing AR as the collateral, that AR is real. There's real debtors that owe, and we're able to liquidate that and turn that into cash. So we had a recent training where we talked about the 3 economic streams to clients. We had a whole training on this. So one, of course, is the loan proceeds. So clients come to us, we help create a fundable business, and they get a loan. That's typically the motivating factor. But also, then there is the liquidation of the AR. So that's not in lieu of number 1, that's in addition to. And then third, we have the opportunity fund for daily deposits, which isn't our topic today. But three different economic streams, and I think some of you are not properly appreciating the relevance of us, A, providing collateral to the client, and then B, liquidating that and turning that into cash. Okay, So who else has questions, comments, concerns on first tranche financing? What happens initially, typically in the first week? Sometimes we call it seed capital, sometimes called first tranche or first round funding. We've covered that. I think that's pretty simple. So that's taking the client where they are when they come to us and getting them initial funding. So I'm assuming everyone's on the same page there. And then we have gone back to reintroduce the 4-week funding program, which each of you should have the agreement. If you wanted to enroll a client, you should be able to enroll a client today, yourself or someone else. When you signed up, if you signed up as a white label partner, we would have sent you an onboarding email. That onboarding email had actually 3 editable Word documents down at the bottom, one for the buy, one for the build, and then the third document was actually an editable press release, which isn't really relevant to what we're talking about right now. So the 4-week funding program is what we call the build, designed to be a 28-day process, get them their first round, like Miss Navarro in the first week. We can use their current business or form a new one. You don't need to make a decision on that. They don't need to make a decision on that when they enroll. When we go to implementation, we'll help them make, because if they have a current business, maybe that is the best way to go. Or maybe there's issues with the current business. Maybe they've not been filing the tax return, so it's not compliant. Sometimes, even though they have a current business, it may be easier and faster to form a new one for the capital raise. But we'll work with the client on that. You're not burdened with that. We're providing 10,000 of collateral for free for everyone in the 4-week funding program. As we talked about, it's actually 100,000 for the shelf, and you pick the pricing. All right, so I guess Harold's asking about the pricing, so let's go ahead and drill into that. So as a white label partner, we're essentially your vendor. We're your back office, your administrative service organization, ASO, whatever you want to label us. But we do the work. You go out, generate the client, collect the money, we do the work. And then there's a split, some sort of revenue share, because obviously we need to get paid for doing the work and you need to get paid for bringing in the clients. So the pricing is up to you, number one. Secondly, the pricing is different for the buy and the build. The buy is the shelf, but let's talk about the build. So we need a minimum of 1,000 to cover our vendor costs. So in other words, you can charge whatever you want for the 4-week funding program, but we need a minimum of 1,000 to cover our costs. Otherwise, we're losing money on that client, which we don't want to do. So most of you, I think, are charging 2,000 or 2,500, but you pick it. But we'll say most common is 2,000. And we do a 50-50 split of that as a white label partner. So that puts 1,000 profit in your pocket up front. All right. Mr. Gibson has a question. Okay, so one of the first things that I need you all to consider is don't get bogged down with the client specifics. Clients will want to tell you about their experience and their education and their wife and their mistress and all of that. That's not relevant. So to the capital raise. Really, what you need to come to conclusion with, Mr. Gibson and everyone else, is are you going to enroll the client in the build, 4-week funding, or the buy, the shelf? You have both of the agreements. You should have edited both. You should have both into some sort of e-signature software. So that's the decision that you need to work with the client on. Are you going to help them with the build or the buy? Don't get bogged down with anything beyond that. We'll take care of the implementation. Your decision making with the client needs to resort in a decision of, are we going to enroll them in the 4-week funding program or the shelf? So the amount of money they want isn't a distinguishing factor. The type of industry is not a distinguishing factor. Their male girth size is not a distinguishing factor. So don't get caught up in the details. We'll take care of the rest. You need to just determine, are you going to do a build or a buy contract with them? Get them under contract, collect payment, we'll handle the implementation. So of course, those nuances matter when it comes to implementation, but not from your end of client contracting. That's where I see some of you just freeze up. It's like, well, it's a pastor that wants to start a brothel. Will that work? It doesn't matter, right? Don't get bogged down. They want money. We know to get business funding, you need to have a fundable business. We can help them two ways: build or buy. Figure out which of these two, get them under contract, collect payment. We'll handle implementation. All right, Curtis. So Curtis, I told you we'd give you as much time as you need today. Curtis, what are you missing that's keeping you from going and closing deals? Closing deals, because any of you who are a white label partner, you've promised to close at least a deal a week. Do you remember that? So if you're a white label partner, you promise, you committed to doing at least a deal a week. And if you're not, we got to figure out why. What are we not doing properly? All right. And Curtis said he didn't have the proper knowledge to go close a deal a week. So that's why we're resolving that today. Okay, so Curtis is asking about personal credit. So that's a great point. So in the 4-week business funding program, we do not do anything with personal credit. It's not listed. It's not a deliverable. It's not what this is building a fundable business. Fundable, see the big building? It's not the house the person lives in. It's fundable business. So personal credit is not part of this proposition, not part of it. It is part of the shelf corporation. We include the credit sweep at no cost in the shelf corporation. So that's a great point, Curtis. So as you're consulting with a client and deciding build versus buy, there's different deliverables for the shelf, which we're not talking about today. We are talking about the deliverables in the 4-week funding, which are clearly stated here. They're clearly stated in the agreement. They're described on the website. So with that being said, I guess he wants to know about the credit resource. So the credit resource we use is called a credit sweep. We use a legal firm composed of attorneys and or paralegals who will use legal strategies to remove derogatory items and then, if needed, add positive credit to the client's personal credit profile. And that is, again, included at no cost in the shelf. If someone wants that a la carte, it's priced at $2,000. Obviously, legal professionals don't work for free or even for cheap, but the grant will reimburse the client for that after they go to funding. So we will be able to provide that credit resource for free for clients in the 4-week funding program through a reimbursement or advance grant allocation for people in the shelf corp. It's technically not credit repair. We actually went through a Federal Trade Commission audit, which we had no fines, no wrongdoings. They thought that it was credit repair. We were able to legally defend it's not credit repair. We do not do credit repair, but we have legal professionals that can effectively and legally remove negative items. So there is that. But again, I don't think you all are credit professionals as at least in our relationship. So what we need to be focused on is building fundable businesses and not get so bogged down with individuals and their credit. So I think getting back on focus, Curtis, would help you. Let's focus on identifying, do they have a fundable business? If so, we can go immediately to funding. That rarely happens. Usually they don't have a fundable business. Therefore, we can either help them through the build or the buy. So I think some of you are making it too complicated. You're going way deep into the weeds. Like, well, is the sugar that's in my Pop-Tart, is it sugar from Hawaii or from Polynesia? I don't know where sugar comes from. But the point is, you got to focus on what's relevant, not what's irrelevant. Okay. So we're about to the end. Well, we are close to the bottom of the hour. What else do you need to know? Any of you? Because if you're a white label partner, you need to close a deal this week. If not, you're breaching the agreement, right? So let me know what we need to do different, because you need to perform. You need to perform. That's what white label partners do. Now, if you're just an affiliate, you can be a dabbler. But if you're a white label partner, we're spending time and energy and sharing intellectual capital with you. You need to perform or you're in breach. And so often I talk to so many of you, and it's always this, it's frequently this, yeah, but, which means, yeah, I'm under contract as a white label partner. I made promises, but, my alternator went out in my car. Well, you've been with us 6 weeks, right? One gentleman, he was traveling 48 hours. He said he wasn't available. Well, hell, you could fly around the world in 48 hours. So we've got to stop with excuses. And if you want to be a white label partner, then produce, and we're here to help you. And of course, we'll provide the services that are committed to. All right, so with that being said, I guess we're set. So you have the option for each client, evaluate and determine, are they better suited to build a fundable business or to buy a fundable business? 4-week funding versus shelf. Doesn't matter to me. It's whatever's best for the client. You get them under contract and you should be good to go. If you need help, give us a call, give us an email, and we will help. And Toby, I can follow up with you to assist you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.